Well,
Sports.
we're not playing around this week. Um, it was a terrible night last night in Missouri for the Volunteers. Terrible night for us Tennessee fans that had to watch that on TV last night. Um, I'll just start. Let's just go around the table here. We've got Harb here with us. We've got special rotating guest Brett Stanton with us tonight. Um, we're not playing around tonight. Harbin, what was your like? How are you feeling today after the game last night? After that beatdown?
I'm embarrassed, first and foremost. Um, I'm embarrassed to be a Tennessean, to own anything orange.
What?
Uh, yeah, I mean, that shit was pitiful, to put it lightly. Um, it was awful. That's my short answer. We'll get into it more, but that bullshit was pitiful.
Brett, how are you feeling today? Tonight?
Very discouraged yesterday, man. It was very frustrating watching that. I was very fired up after watching the noon games. I hit all my games that I wanted to, except for one, the Clemson. They kind of, yeah. So I was fired up rolling into Tennessee, and then that kind of totally depleted me. I had nothing in me after that game.
Sad. We've all been
Sad.
dragging around
Yeah.
today. This
Yep.
been a long Sunday afternoon. It was a beautiful day outside, but I couldn't even enjoy it. It's just terrible.
Nah.
I mean, it's so Day Vols not here this week. Harbin has seen these text messages today. We in our text group going back and forth, and it's been it was about 11, 12 o'clock this morning it started, and it was partially my fault because I had a lot on my mind about the game last night, but Day said, Niece, you need to stop letting these games affect how your life goes on the weekends. And I was like, man, it's all I got, man. It's Tennessee football. Like that's
Yeah.
as Tennessee football goes, so goes East Tennessee. And that's just how it is. But it was a miserable night last night watching that game. I went up to my buddy Patrick. His wife had him a surprise birthday weekend getaway up at a lake house on Norris Lake. And so we went up there, watched the game with them, and it was just miserable watching the game. And it just frustrating, I guess, was a good word, because we had talked the last couple of weeks about, our title of the show last week is Tennessee peaking. And we all thought Tennessee was playing their best football, and they absolutely laid a gigantic egg. And I don't think and we'll get into it as we go here. I don't think it's one aspect that you can pin it on. The running game stunk. The defense stunk. Tennessee got
What?
pushed, Tennessee got pushed around on the front seven.
What?
The receivers were mediocre.
What?
The special teams stunk.
What?
I mean, it was just bad all the way around. It was a bad performance all the way around. So we'll go around the room. I'll start with Harb. Um, what looking at the game last night, I've got my things that I was disappointed with, and you know what they are because I've been texting the podcast group all day about them. But what are you most disappointed in how the team played last night? I mean, is it one specific player? Is it a unit? Is it, I don't know. What is it?
If I had to lump it all together, I'd say effort in one word. You have potentially your season on the line. If Ole Miss, like your game kicks off before the Ole Miss Georgia game, if Ole Miss pulls off the upset, you have a chance to win the SEC's title, and that's the performance that you give out with your season on the line potentially. Um, it was just it was pitiful. That's another word that I'm going to use quite a bit tonight. It was pitiful. Going into last night, we had the number one rush offense and defense in the SEC. On offense, we mustered 83 yards rushing. Joe Milton was our leading rusher. I love Joe Milton, but if he's your leading rusher, you're going to lose. Just how it is. Jalen Wright, 7 carries, 22 yards. Jabari Small, 3 carries, 5 yards. Dylan Sampson, 3 carries, 20 yards. That's atrocious. Shout out Cody Schrader. He's got a hell of a story. I think he's a great dude. But we made him look like a Heisman candidate, and he played 4 years of Division II damn football. We let him get 205 yards rushing and 116 yards receiving. Best player on the field, Luther Burden. He had 4 catches for 26 yards. You look at that one stat, you're like, okay, we won the game. No. LA not. No. We gave up 255 yards rushing, got absolutely gashed. Every time I gave it to that Schrader guy, you know he's going to be at least 4. Brady Cook, we made him look good outside of that one tipped interception on the first drive. Gave me some false hope. I have nothing good to say about this football team after last night. I truly don't. Best player on the field was our punter. He played a hell of a game. But when you're acknowledging the punter, you had a shitty game. This is the shittiest I've felt since last November. When about 8 of us made the trip to Columbia. I have nothing good to say. I'm defeated, truthfully. It was. I just don't understand how you can lay that big of an egg 2 years in a row with that much on the table, potentially. Last year we had way more on the table, granted. But we potentially had a lot on the table last night, and that's what we did.
So, real quickly before we go to Brett, just to recap some of the numbers from last night. For Tennessee, Joe Milton was 22 of 34, 267, 1 touchdown and an interception. Like Harbin said, Tennessee had a grand total of 83 yards rushing. Joe Milton had 36 yards of that. So that tells you a lot right there about Tennessee's rushing attack, which is averaging 232 a game. So, I mean, it was way off track. They kind of abandoned the run. I don't know. Was Jalen Wright? I didn't see him much in the second half, especially after he dropped that pitch, which I have some notes on that to talk to when it gets to me. But I didn't see him much in the second half, but they didn't really try to run the football much in the second half. But Tennessee's leading receiver was Ramel Keaton, 4 for 57, and then Squirrel White, 4 for 53. Dante Thornton had 1 catch for 46 yards, and Tennessee's only score a 46-yard touchdown pass.
Then it was hurt
and got injured on the play, and that's something to look at too. And I'll talk about it later. But Tennessee's depth at that position is becoming even more increasingly thin. But we'll go to Brett. I just wanted to recap some of those numbers from the Tennessee side. Brett, what was your keys to the loss last night to the Missouri Tigers?
To sum it up, and we got our ass whooped, for lack of better terms, on offense, on defense, and on special teams. Like Harb said, if you had one shining player, it'd have to be your punter, and that's never a good sign, ever. What discouraged me the most, I'll say I've got 2 things that I really wanted to, that really just kind of grinded my damn gears as bad as you could. Man, we get that opening turnover, and you're like, oh, shit, this ball's about to get rolling. And we come out, and we go screen for 3 yards, run it up the middle, and we got to hurry. have to hurry right there. I mean, hellfire. Why would we not hurry? We run it for 2 yards or 3 yards, and there we are. We're in a 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, if I'm not mistaken. And everybody watching that game knows what we're going to do. And what do? Do exactly what everybody in the whole stands and everybody watching on TV. We ran it right up the middle on a slow delay handoff. And there we are. We got a punt. After getting a first down, I looked at my buddies and I said, man, we had to get 3 out of that. So I felt like that you can put a lot of that, in my opinion, on coaching. What in the world are we doing? I mean, that's the most predictable 3 plays you could ever run. That was downright embarrassing right there. And then you're thinking, okay, we can score points. You know, we got Joe Milton, we can throw it deep. At halftime, you're like, you know, we got a chance. Come out of halftime, and what in the hell was that first play we ran? What did we run? A speed option?
A speed sprint option or something.
And he acted like he was surprised to get the ball. I mean, right there, we're lucky Mays dove on the ball. I mean, that's not good when your center's diving on the ball 30 yards right from the play. You kind of want to say, well, who in the hell are you blocking?
Yeah.
But, I mean, it was right place, right time. I mean, that too, I pin that a lot on coaching. Those 2 situations just absolutely gave every opportunity we had to get some early momentum in the first half. I mean, we got a chance to put our foot on their throat. They just turned the ball over after having a decent little drive. You're thinking, all right, 3 minimum. No, we don't even get a first down. And then we come out of halftime. I'm telling you, that speed option, I looked at it and I said, man, we're not going to win this game. I don't know why. It just felt like desperation. So, yeah, ass whooped would be how I would label that game.
So, very accurate analysis of the game, of what happened. So I'm going to start with this. So Tennessee lost 36-7. It was a blowout. And it seems like whenever Tennessee loses, this thing of it's Joe Milton. It's this constant Joe Milton talk. And I get it. He is not Hendon Hooker. He is not playing like Hendon Hooker, and this offense has been playing the past 2 years that we've grown accustomed to. I have struggled all day, and that's what we argued about in our podcast group. And of course, Big Montana is not here. I was so hoping he'd be here tonight, because I want to hear like a full explanation, not just a text message, because I think a lot of his is probably trolling as well. But I don't understand why Joe Milton is the sole focus of so much hate about this team's performance last night and in other losses. Let's look at some things that happened last night. That Cody Schrader kid, Rudy, for Missouri, he had 200+ rushing yards, 100 and something receiving yards. He is the first player in SEC history to do that. Nobody's ever done that before in the history of this conference, and it dates back to 1932. He had 86 yards after the catch on his receiving. That's pathetic. How many times did Tennessee not wrap that kid up and tackle him? I know he's playing well. He's good. That's pathetic. Quarterback play against Tennessee in the last 2 SEC games, Kentucky and Missouri. 46 of 63 for 73% completion percentage, 639 yards. That's terrible. That is no way that Kamal Hadden meant that much to this football team. Maybe he did, and I don't know what I'm talking about. That's pathetic. And a lot of that has to go back to our front 4 right now is not doing anything. I don't know what's happened to our front 4. Where's James Pierce at? Where's Tyler Barron at when he's not getting held? These guys are not getting any pressure on the football. And if you look back at some of the highlights last night, Missouri's offensive line was pushing Tennessee off the football. I think that's a lot of the problem with the passing defense right now is the quarterback sitting back there like he's playing 7-on-7 flag football. The running game was atrocious last night. Like we mentioned, 83 yards rushing. That's not going to cut it. Another thing that's happening to Tennessee a lot on offense is they'll get something going. They'll get a drive put together. They'll have a drop. They'll have an offensive line penalty. The offensive line is holding like crazy. They're getting false starts. They're drive killers. It's putting Tennessee behind the chains, and this offense just is not built to get ahead of the chains like that. And another thing, like Brett brought up about the coaching, we've mentioned this before on here. I'm not sure what Josh Heupel's doing and his staff. It's obvious they don't trust Joe Milton. And at this point in the season, I don't understand why you're just not taking the reins off of him. If you're going to play him, let him throw the football and run your freaking offense. And they're just not doing it. And I don't know. It's not Joe Milton's fault. I mean, is it all his fault? No. Is it partially his fault? Yes. Is he not reading the defenses correctly on some run plays? Probably. But they've gotten so predictable and so vanilla on offense. They're not hitting big plays like they were in the past couple years. Where's the receivers running wide open like we've had? It's just such a grind for this team on offense right now. And they had chances to score more points right there before the half yesterday. Jalen Wright fumbles the football. And then they come out at the start of the second half, and immediately, first play, they pitch it, fumbled it. They're behind the chains already. And they just do nothing. They can't catch up. I guess the offense was not good yesterday. I think I was more frustrated with the defense just because they weren't helping the offense out any. You remember, I think it was in the second half, Tennessee, Jackson Ross had a great punt, pinned them back. We had 2 straight great defensive plays. It's 3rd and 10 at like the 1 or 2 yard line. And Brady Cook runs for 15 yards before he gets touched. That is unacceptable and cannot happen. Tennessee had a chance to pin them deep, get the ball in good field position, and let the offense work, and it didn't happen. It just didn't happen. The two sides aren't complimenting each other in these losses. Another common theme is Tennessee playing on the road. At home under Josh Heupel the last 2 seasons, Tennessee's 12-0. Let me pull the stats up here. They're averaging 48.5 points a game offense. They're giving up 17.9. On the road, they're 4-5, averaging 28.6 points per game. They're giving up 28.4. That is a 20-point swing on offense and an 11-point swing on the defensive end. I don't know what it is, why this program right now plays so poorly on the road compared to what they do at home. But Josh Heupel and his staff, they don't have any more road games this year.
Thank God.
They have got to figure that out. They cannot, if they want to make that next step like I talked about last week and get to that next tier, they cannot continue to play like this on the road. He's got to figure that out. I don't know what the answer is, why they're playing like that. They got to figure it out.
Well, yeah. The analogy that I made at work earlier today, I said, man, at home, this team looks like the 85 Bears. But on the road, we look like Seymour High School. It's just – and I said that facetiously, but really it's legitimate. I mean, we beat a what I would call a semi-decent Kentucky team on the road Halloween weekend. Okay? That was our first pretty decent road performance since LSU last year, which feels like a lifetime ago. I mean, and it was 14 months ago almost. You lay an egg at Georgia. Obviously, whatever happened in Columbia last year happened. I don't count Vandy. That's always a home game. You go to Florida and shit the bed. You have a good half against Alabama. You fold like a cheap lawn chair. You hold on against Kentucky. Hell, part of us tried to give that one away.
Yeah.
And then you do this shit against Missouri, which all the credit in the world to Missouri. They're good. They're a good damn football team this
They're
year.
good. They're a good football team.
They're good. They're not great. They're good. That is where my issue is. They're
I thought
good.
we were good.
I did too. I can promise you one thing. I didn't think they was 29 damn points better than us.
I still I don't think they are. I just think it was a combination. They played really well, and we played really poorly and had a conservative game plan, and they came out and attacked Tennessee from the get-go.
The most concerning thing to me is that the last two times we played Missouri, which obviously we were much better than them 2 years prior, so take it with a grain of salt. We put up 60, and we ran all over them. And last week I said, I'm going to have to see it to believe it for Drinkwitz to stop our run. And damn it, he's a dork. But I give him all the credit in the world because that's exactly what he did.
Yep.
He ran all over us for the first time ever since he's been there. He ran all over us. And it made it easy for Brady Cook. I mean, like I said, Luther Burden, best player on the field, had 26 yards, and they beat us by 30. That's inexcusable.
So I want to ask this question because we talked about this in our podcast group. Now, again, I wish Big Montana was here. He went on and on about it's Joe Milton. We only scored 7 points. If we had a competent offense, and I've seen others say this too, it's not just him, that if we had a competent offense that we wouldn't have to worry about giving up 29 points on defense, 36 total. I don't like that philosophy at all, because when you sit down and looked at it last night's game, Missouri dominated us. I mean, they pushed Tennessee's defense around up and down the field. You can't have that in this conference if you want to be an elite football team. Yes, you're going to give up some points. I mean, Alabama gave up 21 to Kentucky.
Well, Niece, let me ask you this. I'll be a little devil's advocate here because I'm a little bit on the fence about whether Joe Milton should have finished that game as our quarterback. But if you're going to be great, you're going to make that next step, like you said, like we did last year. Who makes the plays when it's nut cutting time?
It's the quarterback.
I mean, when has he done that? I mean, in those big situations,
really, no.
When he just, I want him to have it. He just don't, man. He just don't.
I'm going to play devil's advocate to your advocate.
All right, fire.
I'm going to play devil's advocate to yours. Before he threw that pick six, which I think the game was already
game was over.
He was 20 of 26 for 260.
But how many of those were beyond 3 yards of the line of scrimmage? I'm not necessarily saying it's Joe Milton, but we don't have faith in him, and we don't run an offense that can be successful. That's my point. If we don't believe in him, put his ass out. If we do, then open up the damn offense and run it.
I truly wholeheartedly agree with what you're saying. But I mean, when the run game ain't doing shit, you got to lean on the quarterback. And
when we lean on him, we throw 3-yard passes. And if they don't catch those 95-mile-an-hour slants and we don't run after the catch, then we don't do nothing in the passing game. We don't let him make plays.
I think that's part of the problem too, is we've lost Brew McCoy, and then you lost Tillman and Hyatt from last year's team.
Yeah, Thornton hadn't stepped up like he was supposed to.
Thornton's been kind of a bust. I'm not
necessarily blaming Joe.
No, I know. I think there's a lot that is going into the offense's supposed lack of or struggles. They're still averaging 30-something points a game this year. If you look, I think they are at least. But yeah,
there was points in Saturday's game that I felt like if there was ever going to be a quarterback switch, like let's get a jolt of hell, somebody's new in there. Let's see what happens. There was plenty of opportunities, and I just felt like the offense did nothing. Try it. I'm not necessarily saying start him the rest of the year, but throw him in there, man.
Well,
I mean, we did nothing on offense ever. It was hard to watch.
The play where the game was over, in my opinion, was when we was down 15. We was down 2 touchdowns, and we were driving, and for some reason, Dylan Sampson raised his arm all the way above his helmet on an RPO or a play action, whatever it was. Maybe Sampson didn't know the play. Maybe it was just a throw. But when Milton fumbled, and nobody caught it, which I'm not going to harp on this long because obviously officiating is not why we lost, but they blow the play dead on second down 3 seconds in to review
into the play. Yeah.
That's twice that's happened this year, by the way.
Which is horseshit.
Which the rule says
anywhere else.
The rule says that once a play has been snapped and is in progress, they can't stop the play. Now they're saying that they're getting buzzed down before the snap. That's bullcrap. They're not.
Well, I mean, you already missed the play starting. That's like that damn play last week. I mean, or against Alabama. It's like that only penalty they got the whole game, snap infraction. Oh, we were about to get a sack. Let's hurry. Call it, blow the whistle. But no, we did not lose that game because of that call. But the game was over after that. Yes. I'll agree with you.
What
I looked at somebody as soon as that whistle blew, said, this game's over. That's a fumble. That was a fumble.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a fumble.
I mean, we were driving, and if we score right there, we cut it to 8 or 7, depending on what we do, or 9, whatever. It's a ball game. And if we score a touchdown right there and we get a stop, momentum's on our side. I'm not saying we do. I mean, it's completely hypothetical. But losing the ball right there is where we lost the game, straight up. I mean, there was other factors that lost us the game, but that's when it was over.
Yeah, I'll agree with you. That was when it was over.
Yeah.
Like officially. I didn't have a good feeling when we came out of halftime running that damn speed option and the ball was laying on the ground. First play coming out of – I looked at Andrew. I was watching with Andrew Taylor, and I looked at him and said, man, I don't think we don't know what we're doing. I mean, what was that going to set up? We ran a speed option into the short side of the field. Have we set that play up the whole game? I mean, I don't get it. Like, is that going to set something else up that we're going to run after that? So that's what we came out of halftime and ran.
I think that end of the first half was one of the most disastrous ends of a half of Tennessee football I've seen in a long time. Tennessee was down 10-7. Yep. We're driving down the field. We're already in field goal range. Plenty of time to try to get in the end zone. Tennessee did a really good job managing the clock. They got down the field. They dump it off to Jalen Wright. He fumbles, coughs it up. Missouri goes right down the field and kicks a field goal.
Yeah.
Going into the locker room. It's 13-7 instead of 10-10 or 14-10 Tennessee. It was done. I looked at, I think, Patrick or Thomas. I said, this game's over. There is no way we come out in the second half. We just can't get out of our own way. We're not moving the ball like we should. We're not doing anything good on defense. Missouri was out on the field for a whole half of football almost. It's a lot of things. That's why I'm not so hung up on.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Niece. At the end of the first quarter, Missouri had ran 26 or 27 offensive plays, and we had run 3.
Yeah, it's something like that. Yes, it was a lot to a little.
I'm pretty sure I'm about factual because they said that on air, and I was like, "Wow!" But then I thought about it. It's like, yeah, because they were driving when they turned it over that first time. I think it was like an 8 or 9 play drive that first drive. And then we got that interception, and then we went 3 and out, and they went on another long because they were deep. They were deep. It was 26, 27 offensive plays in the first quarter, and we had ran 3 at that point.
Am I reading this right that Tennessee had 8 tackles for loss? I did not realize that. And they had 3 sacks. Omar Norman Lott had 2, and James Pierce had 1. So I asked where he was earlier. Well, there he was. But I just feel like the defensive line is not helping out secondary right now at all. And I
But they-
thought too the linebackers played pretty poorly last night as well. I don't want to leave them out of this.
I've got a question watching you. You two are pretty educated when you watch the game. I feel like there's a couple of times, especially on like your third and long, like your obvious throwing situations. In your mind, when you play Madden, you say, "Oh man, we got to get after the quarterback right here." But when you're playing a team like that with a quarterback that's his biggest weapon is obviously getting it to his running back or using his legs. There's a couple times on those third downs, our two defensive ends, they just go straight up the field, and you could argue that they're getting held. But I just don't agree with going 9 yards up the field and giving Cook all that opportunity to step up. I mean, there's a couple opportunities that we're in 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7. I think you said it earlier, and he just takes off and scrambles, and there's 15 yards before he even has to worry about sliding, going out of bounds, getting hit, anything. I don't. Did we not expect that? It blows my mind.
The play that infuriated me the most is when we pinned Missouri on the 1. And we stuffed them, I believe it was 2 straight times. I think it was at the end of the 3rd quarter. Correct me if I'm wrong on this. And their 3rd and 10 was the first play of the 4th quarter because it flipped the field position, or they swapped sides of the field. And they dropped back to pass, and we had what up, Shiggy?
Marshall,
Hey,
what's up?
What's up?
YY podcast. He wanted
Marshall
to give
is
a shout out.
live on the YY podcast.
Hey,
Millions
say what up.
and Marshall,
What?
you are live to the millions and millions of YY listeners.
Hey, say what up.
What up?
There
What?
you go.
Okay, go on.
But the play killed me the most, which they were in the pistol all 3 plays. Which, why you do that on your own 1, I don't understand. We almost got him for a safety on the 2nd down. On 3rd down, they drops back to pass. And we had them covered up. And I literally, out loud, I said, hell yeah. Because I thought we got a safety. And then next thing you know,
Nope.
busts off a 18-yard scramble. And when they showed the camera angle from behind, there was zero contain whatsoever. The whole right side of the field was so wide open, I could have got the first down. I mean, it was I don't understand.
All right, so I want to pose this question to you guys, and don't answer just yet because I put this out on Twitter. But was this the worst loss of the Josh Heupel era? So this goes back to 2021. So put this poll out. Was this the worst loss of the Josh Heupel era? 130 votes. 43% say no, 57% say yes. What do you all say?
No.
No.
I say no too. I think last year's South Carolina loss was worse.
Yep.
Recency bias. Recency bias says yes. I think level-headedly, this is probably the 3rd. It's probably number 3. Number 1 being the South Carolina game. You really just had to beat South Carolina and Vanderbilt to get into the playoff last year. You couldn't do that. But I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think this is as bad as the Florida loss earlier in the year. Really don't. Reason being, when you look at it on paper, losing by 30 and losing by 13, you're gonna pick the 30. However, if you beat Florida, you could have still lost this game.
Yeah.
And if Ole Miss does their thing, you still have something to play for against Georgia. The Florida loss was inexcusable. This loss was too. If we'd have lost by a touchdown, I wouldn't say it was inexcusable, but the way you lost it was bad. But if you're just looking at W and L wise, I think it's number 3. I think it's not even the worst loss this year. And everybody was voting with their heart in that voted yes.
Yeah, prisoners in the moment. I mean,
yeah, I mean, it's recency bias. It wasn't even the worst loss this year. Personal opinion. The way you lost was really, really bad. But just as far as like win and loss, I don't think it's close to being the worst loss under Josh Heupel, in my personal opinion.
No, I agree. So another question I was thinking of, what is Tennessee's problem on the road? Like, why are they such a different team on the road? I don't, we're not around the program every day, so I don't know what goes into their prep or, what their mindset is. But like, Brett, you played football. What is it like? What's the deal with this team on the road right now?
again, I'm not a fire Heupel guy or anything like that. I'm high on Heupel, but it just seems like we come into road tilts like that in big games, like the Florida game earlier. Like we didn't want to treat it like we weren't getting emotional for it like that. It's a big game. You should get up for those games. That's not just playing anybody. I be honest with you, I don't have an answer for that. How good we look at home versus how bad we look away is it's just kind of mind boggling, to be honest with you. I don't really have an answer for that. Seems like we're coached a little different, I guess, is what I was getting at.
I mean, even like looking back to last year, Tennessee struggled at Pittsburgh. I mean, Pittsburgh was a better team last year than they are this year, obviously. But, I was at that game and we were behind a couple scores early and had to fight and claw and then won it in overtime. But, I mean, even in that game, they struggled. Now, LSU is a totally different animal. I mean, they went down there and just donkey punched LSU in Baton Rouge. But other than that, I mean – it's pretty much, besides Vandy, but we don't count that. It's been a struggle for this program on the road under Josh Heupel. It just has, and I don't know. What do you think, Harbin? Like, what's your thoughts on why they play so poorly on the road compared to what they do at home?
I might catch some heat for this, but I think you got to look at the top on this issue. It's one thing if one player, aka the quarterback, or one unit like the linebackers or corners or whoever, if they play bad on the road. But we're starting to see a trend here. And I think it's a lot with what Brett has to say. Every time you hear Heupel talk about a big game on the road, he's trying to downplay it like, oh, we're not treating it any differently this week. By God, you should. Like, that's how I look at it. Like, if you go down to the Swamp, you better treat it differently. If you go down to Bryant-Denny, you got to treat that shit differently. If you go to
playing a top 15 matchup in Como, you got to treat it differently.
If you're playing Missouri with a potential chance of still having the East on the line, by God, you better treat it differently. If you want to downplay the Kentucky game because they're a little brother, I'm okay with that. Whatever. But you can't just treat these like they're UTSA at home. And I understand, like, every coach's psyche is different. And Heupel's is, I think, keeping his guys calm and not being captives of the moment. And I think different philosophies work. I mean, I'm not saying he's wrong, but we're starting to see a trend.
We ain't starting to see it. It's happening. It's happening. 9 games is a big enough sample size.
I don't have the exact schedule in front of me, but in 2021 on the road, we beat Kentucky in a shootout.
What?
We beat the hell out of Missouri, which they were not good in 2021.
What?
We lost at Florida, and they weren't very good. What I remember that year.
No, they weren't.
Who else did we play on the road that
Alabama.
year? Alabama, yeah. We hung with them, but we were undermanned in that matchup. We hung with them. They pulled away in the fourth quarter. Yeah, I mean, your best road wins is number one, obviously LSU. But even in that one, first play of the game was a tone setter, and we got up 20-0 like that. So, I mean, I hate to sound this way, but you kind of won that one by default, really. Outside of that, you got 2 wins at Kentucky. You're supposed to do that shit. And you hung 60 on a Missouri team that was just not very good at the time.
And they got a win at Pittsburgh.
In the win at Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I forgot about that one, but we should have won that game. And we kind of played with our food, and it almost bit us. Yeah, it's tough. I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm an expert on sports psychology, but it's an issue for this football program. And if you think it's miraculously going to get better next year with a redshirt freshman quarterback, buddy, I got news for you. It's not going to get any easier next year. Because next year you go back to Athens. You go back to Columbia, which I doubt they'll be any good, but you still got to win down there. Thankfully, you got to go to Norman. That's new.
Yeah. To Arkansas, which they're probably not going to be any good.
They probably won't, but that could be a weird place to play. We need to have some major changes when it comes to that. It's not going to get miraculously better next year, and I understand that y'all think Hawaiian Jesus is the key to everything.
Easy.
I'm just saying. I'm not saying y'all as in you two.
What?
Y'all as in the majority of the people that are going to listen. To it.
So let's just dive into that while you brought it up.
It's not going to get any better next year on the road.
You open the door here. You kick the door open, Harbin. Tennessee's got. We'll just lump this into the preview of the next game. Tennessee's got Georgia at home this coming Saturday, 3:30 kickoff, CBS. While not as big as it could have been, it's still a big game for Tennessee and for Georgia. Georgia is probably going to be 1 or 2 in the playoff picture coming out on Monday. So still a very big game in this conference, even though we're down in the dumps. By Friday, everybody will be fired up again. It's sold out. There'll be a lot of people there, Georgia fans included. So big game coming up. But we've heard the talk the last 24 hours since the game's ended that it's time. The season's over. We have nothing to play for except for what bowl game we're going to. Just put Nico in there and let him go. I'm sorry. I'm not against Nico playing. I'm not. I just don't know that it's a good time to put him in against the number 1 team in the country who has a pretty good defense. Now you're at home. That helps. But why not wait and play him against Vanderbilt at home, who's not very good? You probably will win with him in there, even if he doesn't play great. I don't know. What are your all's thoughts about the game coming up this Saturday? Do we stand a chance? Should we play Nico over Joe? Should we bench Joe for the rest of the year and just get ready for next year? Or should we try to win these next 2 games, go to a bowl game at 9-3 or 8-4 and try to win that thing and look forward to next year? What's your thoughts on that?
I'll tell you one thing. If you think the smartest thing to do is to let Nico's first start be against the 2-time reigning national champions who just absolutely demolished Ole Miss, I've got oceanfront property in South Dakota, I'll tell you. I think that's the dumbest thing that I've ever heard, truthfully. If you want to start him against Vandy, that's a whole different discussion, and I could be 100% open hearing on that. But if anything, you've got pride to defend. You've got, a 13 or 14 game home win streak you're defending?
13, I believe.
You got a rival coming to town, you could spoil their perfect season. not saying you ruined their postseason hopes, but you could ruin their perfect season and their 28-game winning streak or 30 or whatever the hell it is. There's a lot to play for. And Big Montana or whoever can say that there's no difference in going 9-3 or 7-5 or whatever the hell you say. If you can win this game and win a bowl game and get 10 wins in what everybody or most people with a brain considered a bridge year, that's huge. Even with the debacle at Gainesville and even with whatever the hell just happened in Como, if you can win this game and win a bowl game, that's absolutely huge for the momentum of this program, in my honest opinion. Realistically, we're staring down 8-4, and you're hoping for a 9-win season in a bowl game, in a shitty bowl game. Hopefully, we don't go back to damn 5th and Broadway.
Yeah, no kidding.
I mean, it's what we're looking at. But there is a ton to play for in this game, and I'm not benching a 6-year guy to start an 18-year-old against Georgia. I'm just not, and Heupel's not either. So you can quit your bitching about that.
What do you think, Brett?
I'm a guy that you always play to win the game that's in front of you. I don't care if you're 0-10. I'm not one of those that you're going to play to lose a game. So I mean, I'll say this: you start Joe, but by golly, man, if we've got opportunities like we had this past Saturday to say, hey, man, and we're falling flat on the offensive side of the ball, why not? All I keep hearing, and I'm not saying you start him, blah, blah, blah. No. I think Joe's earned the opportunity to go out there and see if we can get things rolling. But if we come up and we stall as much as we did this past Saturday in those big moments, what do you got to lose? I mean, what do we lose by 28? I mean, would you have been mad if he would have went in Saturday? I mean, and maybe he goes in there and starts some momentum, and all I keep hearing is he's not going to be here for 4 years. Well, then when are we going to play him? I mean, I wouldn't start him, but I think that leash and that opportunity to say, hey, man, this is your show, has to be close.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And y'all have heard me on here, and Harb's the same way, that, we were pretty adamantly behind Joe Milton being quarterback, and I've defended him because I think he's getting a lot of unjust criticism for how the offense has performed this year. But I think now, when you have no goals on the table officially now, they were very slim to begin with.
Yeah.
No, you have no SEC title on the table. You have no college football playoff title on the table. Now are you going to go to Memphis, Nashville, Charlotte, or Tampa Bay or Jacksonville? That's kind of all you're playing for right now. And playing for some pride. I know Big Montana says it all the time that nobody plays for pride and pageantry and all that anymore. That's bullcrap. They do. They absolutely do. Kids
absolutely.
Maybe I'm being naive and they don't, but I think there's still some kids out there that put on the jersey and want to go out there and represent the school and themselves and their name on the back of their jersey and that T on the helmet, and go out there and this Saturday make a name for yourself and beat Georgia and knock that winning streak off. And I think there's still some kids that do that, and I think that's what this team's got. They got to look in the mirror this week, and I mean, Josh Heupel included. He's got some things to look at, and I'm a huge Josh Heupel fan. But there's some look, guys. I think we all came on here. I mean, we said the floor for this team's eight wins this year. They were predicted to go 8-4 by all the analytics. That's what they're on pace to do. So it sucks. It's frustrating, but they're about where everybody thought they would be this year. I think the one thing that stinks about it is they lost at Florida, and they probably shouldn't have, because this Florida team's not very good. But I just think that this program's not as – I know we're down in the dumps, but this program's not as bad off as everybody wants to make it out to be today. And I think once the smoke clears and the season's over, and we probably don't beat Georgia this Saturday. Let's just face it. They're probably not going to. Could we? Yes. But will we?
What?
Probably not. But it's, 8-4, season ends. You go to a bowl game and find a way to win that and go 9-4, and you look back on it like, okay, we went 7-6, 11-2, 9-4. What did we do before that? What did we do the last 15 years? What? I mean, we didn't do anything. And I think this program's in a much better place than it is. Heupel's still got some work to do on the recruiting trail. And just keep plugging along here and keep your head down and keep doing what you did to get yourself here. And
we got to keep supporting them boys.
You got to support them boys, guys. That's all it's about here. I know Chad Grubb's big in that. We got to support them boys, and we just got to go out there and we got to wear orange on Saturday, Harbin, and support them boys. Give your all for Tennessee today, Harbin.
Yeah. No,
Are you going Saturday, Harbin?
Well, funny you say that. I'm actually looking at tickets right now. And the only reason I am is the last 2 weeks I did very well in the gambling verse. So essentially I can buy 2 tickets to this game with gambling winnings. So that's what I'm going to go. While we're on the topic, what row do you sit in Z11?
I believe we're row 31. That's about midway's up. I think there's like 58 or 60 rows, something like that.
Well, I'm glad you said that because as I click this right now, I'm going to be sitting in the same row as you.
Oh, is Day selling his tickets?
Maybe.
It ain't me. I actually plan on sitting out with the common folk this week.
With the people?
My uncle's in the skybox, and his tickets are all accounted for, and so plan on sitting out with the people this weekend, hopefully. Because
that's the only way to go to a good game.
And that's the thing. Like when you go to these big games and you sit up in the skybox, it is cool up there.
Yeah,
but you don't hear that crowd. I mean, you hear it, but you don't hear it like you're out there, and you don't feel that
like energy. You're part of that.
Yeah,
you're part of it.
And I'll be honest, in that box, there is a different energy. Like when I look down to the left and I look down to the right, the boxes are so tame compared to E522. Those people are crazy in that box. And I remember when we blocked a punt against Georgia in 2013, I thought our skybox was going to fall off into the stadium. It was so crazy up there. But it's still, though, you just don't hear that. And there's nothing against the skybox. I love going up there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Like, you just don't feel that energy in the crowd like you do if you're sitting in Z11 or whatever you're sitting in. But what do we do this Saturday? Did the Vols have any chance, Harbin? Do we hang tight with them? Do we make something happen? Or Georgia's playing pretty good right now? Do they beat us like they did Ole Miss this past weekend?
In my personal opinion, I think it'd be the most Tennessee thing ever if we beat Georgia. Just lay an absolute egg when you had not everything laid out for you, but when you potentially had everything on the table. Lose by 30, and then best team in the country, in my opinion, comes down. You just straight up beat them. It wouldn't shock me. I'd be surprised, but it wouldn't shock me. We have a chance. I don't know what the line's opened up at. Let me look at ESPN.
It is -10 Georgia.
We'll cover.
Well, I'll tell you this right now. Personal opinion, I don't think the line will ever be in question. I think we win or we get damn dog walked, personally. And I believe we will be able to figure that out fairly early in the game. You can just kind of tell when this team's going to play well or when they're not. And we'll be able to figure it out early. But hell with it. I ain't picked us to lose yet on a week-to-week basis.
You haven't?
I haven't. piss on them. That's somebody else's job. We take them down. We ruin their perfect season. We go 9-3, and we get ourselves a slightly better bowl than we were going to. And we get a 10-win season out of this shit show.
What you got, Brett?
Here's where I am. I think that we'll play with a totally different mindset. Offense will move. We're at home. I mean, you're a big look at the numbers guy, like you said. I mean, at this point, it's a trend. We play better at home. We're going to have a competent offense that will roll out on the field, I hope. I'm going to predict that about mid-second quarter, we make a quarterback change, and Nico wins us this game Saturday.
Oh, my gosh. What a prediction.
We kick a field goal to win the game 34-33.
Wow. That is
and the Nico era is here.
I think Tennessee loses, and I think Georgia covers. That's my quick answer. I think it's one of those games where I think Tennessee hangs around with Georgia for maybe the first half, and then Georgia just pulls away. It may be earlier than the second half, but we're just, like I said earlier, we're a different football team at home. I don't know what it is. We may never know what it is, but I mean, when you score 20 more points at home than you do on the road and give up 11 more than you do at home, something's different. So that can't be understated going into this game. But I think Georgia's just better than us. I mean, just at every position, every facet of the game right now. Unfortunately, I thought we would, at this point in the season, have come along a little bit more and, be ready to fight and compete with them. But I'm not sure that we are at this point after what I saw last Saturday. Maybe they change and totally flip the script. It's like the NFL. Like one week a team can come out and lose 45-14, and the next week they win 21-10. I mean, it's just kind of a week-to-week league, and I think college football is getting like that almost a little bit, but I don't see that happening. So Harbin's got the Vols winning. Brett's got the Vols winning with Nico coming in and salvaging.
And you got us getting a whoop.
And I'm got us getting spanked. Uga is going to pee all over us, apparently, I guess. Wonder if Uga will be there, like the real dog.
I guess it's fitting that you're wearing a Cal Naughton Jr. hat because you just love being number 2.
Shake and bake, baby.
This is actually a Tony Stewart hat, by the way.
Well, piss on Tony Stewart and Cal Naughton Jr. If you ain't first, you're last.
Tony Stewart is a 3-time champion, by the way. He was not last.
He also killed a man.
Well, the guy shouldn't have been out on the track.
Well, I don't give a shit.
He got in front of him, and he was high, so that's his own fault.
I'm just letting you know I'm stating facts.
By the way, my favorite driver retired last Sunday, Kevin Harvick. So my last connection to like the Dale Earnhardt era of NASCAR is now gone. So I don't know that I'll cheer for anybody ever again. I might just watch racing and take a nap on Sunday starting in February.
Definitely.
Yeah, you can take some good naps during a NASCAR race, and I love watching NASCAR.
Wake up and not miss nothing.
You wake up, and I record them, so if I wanted to, I could go back. But usually, if something big happens, the announcers are screaming, so it'll wake you up. But yeah, you wake up with about 75 or 60 laps to go. Ball game.
Good thing is, in the next 3 to 5 years, between NASCAR and NFL, you may not age one bit because you're going to get a whole lot of sleep being a top.
True.
Yeah.
Let's not get off topic too much. I never gave my score prediction.
Okay, go ahead. What's your score prediction?
Listen, the haters and losers out there, of which there are many.
There are many.
I mean, there's hundreds of thousands, maybe millions, and millions
What?
What? Nobody expects us to win this ball game. They think we're going to lay down. Georgia's just going to coast to another undefeated regular season, play Alabama again, rinse and repeat. I think we have different plans. Now one thing that I'm actually using my brain in, Josh Heupel's teams are very, very good at bouncing back after losses for the most part.
Yep.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. The Georgia and the South Carolina games were not back to back last year, were they?
No.
Yeah.
Missouri was in between.
So in the last 2 years, we haven't lost back to back games. In year one, I think we may have because we went 7-5. Odds are we did. But for the most part, this club is very good at bouncing back after losses. As far as wins go. Keep in mind, Georgia statistically has the worst pass defense in the SEC. They're giving up the most yards, which, to be fair, they're leading all the time, so they're not running as much. They're throwing every play. Granted, but this Georgia pass defense is not what it potentially used to be. Their front seven's 7 dogs, like always. But if you think we have zero chance in this game, hell, you may be right. You might, but I don't think you are. I think we're going to come out. I think we're going to come out inspired as hell. I truly do, because there's still a decent amount of momentum left on the table, and Josh Heupel knows that he is graded on 3 opponents. And he damn sure does not want to go 0-3 against those 3 in 1 year. He hasn't yet, or it did the first year. My apologies. My bad. But he don't want to do it again. He definitely don't, especially after that bullshit against Florida. I'm not going to sit here and guarantee win, but we're definitely going to come out fired up and ready to roll. And just staying on brand, we're going to do the damn thing. We're going to ruin Georgia's perfect season, shut them bastards up for a little bit, and we're going to beat Vandy, and we're going to get us a 10-win season. I'm going Vols 34-31. Go ahead and lock it in the bank.
Vols 34-31. Brett said 35-31. I'm just saying we don't cover, so there you
go.
34-33.
34-33, sorry.
Nico has nothing to do with it in my prediction.
So, looking forward to the game this Saturday, even though we're, goals are gone, but still should be a fun time this Saturday. Weather looks pretty good, I think. So if you're around campus, come by the tailgate over in C8. We'll have a good time, and we'll have some ice cold chocolate milks with you and talk about whatever you want to talk about pregame. So swing on by.
Have koozies left, stickers.
Stickers and koozies galore. I do owe Parker, Harbin's buddy Parker, a sticker and a koozie. So, hey, real quick before we go to a Q&A for this week from the listeners, how about the basketball team on Friday night? Looked good against Wisconsin on the road.
They did. Dalton Connect can play.
Yeah, he's good. That kid's going to play in the league next year.
Goodness gracious.
Y'all see this?
What?
If you're not watching the YouTube, this is me hypothetically driving the Dalton Connect bandwagon.
You called it early. You called it 2 months ago.
And let me just tell you right now, seats are filling up quick. So if you want to hop on now, by God, you better holler at me quick. Because if you ain't on early, You ain't getting on late. Straight up.
Yeah, that kid. I mean, he filled it up the other night at Wisconsin. The Vols won. For those that didn't watch or have been under a rock for the past few days, Tennessee went to Wisconsin and won 80-70. Several points in the game. It was a tight back and forth game. Wisconsin would get it down to 1, but Tennessee would always come down and either get to the free throw line and calm it down, or they would find a way to make a basket. But this team to me seems different than last year's team. Obviously, they have somebody that can come down and score it pretty much at will. And they kind of, this senior, not even seniors. I mean, just there's a lot of guys on this team that are playing heavy minutes that have played a lot of minutes previously. So they've been there, done that. And they just seem like one of those top 5 teams that just knows how to win. And they've got Wofford this Tuesday at home at Thompson Bowling Arena. And then next week, they go out to Maui to play in the Maui Invitational. And they got Syracuse right out of the gate. But after that, it's going to be either Kansas, which I think they beat Syracuse. But then they're going to either play Kansas or Gonzaga. Who am I missing? Anyways, whoever it is, there's a lot. That field's loaded. So it's going to be a great tournament. Win or lose, if Tennessee goes out there, it's going to be great. But I'm excited to see them play some of the top teams in the country next week. But, man, they look good the other night. I was sitting on the couch watching that on Peacock Friday night, and I was never worried. But I was super pumped about how they played, how they responded to Wisconsin runs. And it was amazing that they won. Rick Barnes never got off the bench. He only called one timeout. I can't believe they won.
The biggest thing, personal opinion, if we win games against teams like Wisconsin, obviously Wisconsin's not a top 5, top 10 team, but they're a very competent opponent year in, year out. If we're winning games in Madison, where Vescovi and Ziegler combined for 10 points on 3 of 9 shooting by 10 points, we're gonna have a damn good year.
I agree.
And when's the last time that we had a legitimate go-to wing scorer this good? You could argue potentially Keon or Springer. I think you got to go all the way back to Tobias Harris.
On the wing, I mean, you could go back to say Kennedy Chandler was that kind of player, but he wasn't a wing player. He was a point guard. But, yeah, no, you're right. I think you're right. I mean, I think you got to go back that far. I don't know if Josh Richardson may be in that category toward the end of his senior year, but or even like a Schofield. Maybe, I mean, Grant Williams was the type of player, but he wasn't a wing player, but you could feed him the ball down low and isolate him in the post, and he could do a lot of damage and take over a game. But Dalton Connect is a completely different player. He can beat you off the dribble, shooting a jump shot, whatever he needs to do, he can do it right now.
I mean, it's just nice to have a legitimate 3-level scorer who can fill it up from close, mid-range, or 3. And looks competent with the ball in his hands. Dude is silky smooth with the ball in his hands.
So real quick, I want to read some questions because we're running low on time here. Blake Talley, he seems to comment on every episode, but we do appreciate it, Blake. He says, hot take, Dobbs is better than Dak. Dobbs would at least take them to the NFC Championship game. Dak looked pretty good today, though. So did Dobbs. Brandon Watson commented on us. What's going on, Brandon? You'll receive a koozie and a sticker for your question. He has a question. What do y'all think about fake injuries after extra points? I hate when opponents do it to us when we're moving the ball. Has Heupel had enough and just saying, look, we can do it too? I think he's referring to the last week against UConn. We had a couple injuries on extra points. The theory I've heard on that is they were scoring so quick that they're trying to give the defense a little more time to rest. That's the theory I've heard.
Yeah, and Brandon, you've got a good point on that. We've had teams do it to us so much. I think Heupel is kind of like piss on you. we'll just do it too if there's not going to be any repercussions towards it. And if there's not, then
I'm here for it.
I mean, that same right guard got hurt about 6 times in the UConn game. I'm very thankful that it's okay and he bounced back and he was able to recover.
He's a tough guy.
Yeah. That's resiliency, in my opinion.
I will say, Brandon, keep posting your videos of moving Earth on Snapchat. It's pretty entertaining. I don't know if you boys are friends with him on the Snapchat, but every now and then he's on a piece of equipment moving some dirt around, and the comments are golden. It's great.
By the way, as far as Blake Talley's concerned, the highlight of his week is getting me fired up, and I'm not going to allow that to happen. The Dallas Cowboys look phenomenal today against incredibly inferior competition. I will add that.
Thank you.
Hey, I will say I was playing golf yesterday morning, Harbin, and I hit a knockdown 8-iron, and right before I hit it, I thought of you. Choke down 8-iron.
Hey, it's my patented play.
It worked out. I hit the green.
But I will say what Josh
don't hit the green.
What Josh Dobbs is doing right now is absolutely incredible, and it's really fun to watch. He's 2-0, and he's still learning his damn teammates' first names. It's truly incredible, and the only reason he got traded from Arizona is because he's playing too damn good. They were trying to tank.
Yep.
Well, guys, we're out of time. It's been a great show. Brett, appreciate you coming on. Harbin, fun as usual. We'll see you boys Saturday, hopefully. If anybody's down on campus, like I said, come by and see us.
I'm going to swing down there.
Come on by. It should be a good time. South Carolina people will be there. Georgia people will be there. So, guys, that's the show this week. We appreciate it. We'll see you guys next week on the YY8 podcast.
Go Vols.